Hello, my name is Merritt Bucholz. I'm an architect with Bucholz McEvoy Architects, and we're leading a design team to design the new project at Emmett Road. And we're doing this really in partnership with Dublin City Council and with the community. And because it's a large, complicated project, it has many pieces. It has just short of 500 apartments. There's a new library, there's a community center, there's a creche, there's a public green spaces, there's play spaces, there's blue spaces for birds and ecology, there's a grocery store, there are cafes, there's many, many aspects to it. We've structured our thinking around these design themes and really to kind of think about, well, what are the design themes? We've made this little diagram to relate the design themes to a tree. And we're thinking about a tree because trees they live a long time, usually longer than humans, um, but they also grow and develop into incredibly strong things, which is exactly what we want this project to do. So the first layer are the roots of the tree, and this is about how the project will be part of the neighborhood and part of the existing community. So it's really important that it not be new as such, but that it be grown into a place which is very vibrant and very strong and most definitely already exists with a passionate community. So it has to have a strong and inviting public realm. That means that all the spaces that are public need to be places that people feel comfortable in and people sense their identity within. That there's a distinctiveness about the places that are being created, that they accommodate diversity, lots of different things that want to happen in Inchicore, that could happen in Inchicore vis-a-vis festivals, vis-a-vis celebrations, markets, and so on can happen in these places. That it be connected to the environment, to the existing streets and green spaces, and that it really support our new urban mobility. In other words, that people can easily cycle and have bicycles there, that people can easily walk and be a pedestrian there, that we think about these as being primary ways of moving around, and things like vehicles with wheels like cars and motors, I mean, are kind of secondary. So the trunk of the tree is the project, the community within itself, and how it's a strong, connected place. So this is about providing a variety of dwellings, providing regenerative open spaces where people can garden and people can recreate and people can use and enjoy, and where the shared facilities like the common spaces, the bicycle storage rooms, the recycling spaces are also places where people meet and people feel safe and people feel a sense of identity and coming together. The healthy homes are the branches of the tree, and these are all of the places where people live, and there needs to be a tremendous amount of natural light so people can follow the passage of the sun and know when morning is and when evening is, and that the quality of air is improved by the density of vegetation around in the open spaces, and that people generally feel as if they're living in a place which is healthy because they're living in a place which is natural and made out of natural things, natural materials. The leaves of the tree are about affordability over time, and this is really about the fact that it needs to be built really well. It needs to be built so that it's maintainable, so that it doesn't cost a lot to run, and that in that way it supports the local economy, and that people who live their lives there feel like they're getting taking into their into their lives a stake in the project, and we think this is really important. And then the final design theme is really around climate and the overall climate resilience of the project. And this is, I think, about not relying on fossil fuels for energy generation, and being very flexible as far as how technology is employed in the site, because technology always changes and one needs to be adaptable to new technologies, um, and embed the design of the project around passive design principles. Going back to what I was saying a moment ago about the sun, and the wind and the rain, that these things are the things that kind of determine how we are connected ecologically to climate systems into the future, and that the project takes cognizance of that. So part of the pieces of this first design theme, the roots of the tree, the vibrant neighborhood, will be fulfilled through the creation of a new place, a new civic place on Emmett Road, which will bring identity, ownership, and civic pride. Community facilities with active frontages like the library and the community center will face that space. And there will be inviting connections between Emmett Road and Golden Bridge Cemetery to the canal, that people will be drawn into the into this new precinct, and through an inviting network of interconnected spaces, green spaces. And these interconnected green spaces will have obviously a structure and a hierarchy that begins in Emmett Road and begins in Golden Bridge Cemetery, or begins in Emmett Crescent, or begins in Bulfin Place. We think that the design needs to come from Inchicore. In other words, there's a tremendous sense of pride and community in Inchicore, and the new project needs to feel like it's part of the existing environment. And part of that environment is a natural environment, but part of it is a place, most of it is a place just where people live. And we want to expand that sense of potential and possibility that comes from people living in a place and being able to live their lives out within that place, and that identity comes out of that living your life out in the place. This is about providing diversity, providing culture, providing opportunities for new businesses, providing the broader kind of public uses, which we see in Golden Bridge Cemetery, for example, like the common ground, and providing opportunities for allotment gardens. All of these things, education, become part of the vibrancy of the neighborhood. Pedestrian connectivity and being able to walk from one place to another without having to go around something, and being safe the whole time when you're walking around in the city, we think is very important. And this is about having a coherent network of interlinked, safe spaces that bring you through a place. And that from the point of view of the existing site, this east-west permeability is something that it's a job that the new project can really take on, and is one that we feel that it should take on, linking together this kind of necklace of urban spaces north-south, and building strong roads along St. Vincent Street West and the edge of Patriots Path along Richmond Barracks side of the site, with this new urban place onto Emmett Road, a new space in front of Richmond Barracks, a new public green space called Richmond Green, and then a new public space in front of Golden Bridge Cemetery just opposite Emmett Crescent. The pedestrian and cycle realm, I guess what that means, we want to make that really strong, and make that the kind of go-to solution for everybody who lives there, and that integrating that, making it easy, making it as easy as it is for people to choose to use their private cars today is what our strategy is. The second design theme, connected and living communities, is really about the inclusivity of the dwellings, that people can form communities over time, over the long lifespan of the human being, within this within the project, and this means that they don't have to move. This means that it's accessible. That this means that it's inclusive. That they feel comfortable, and that they feel that it brings value to their lives. We also feel that because of the history of the Richmond Barracks and the history of St. Michael's Estate and Keogh Gardens, there's a strong sense of change and transformation that's happening in Richmond Barracks. And it's interesting when you look at these photographs of the confirmation class of 1966 Christian Brothers School, and then you look at the photograph on the top where you have in the back of the room standing the students from Our Lady of Lourdes. Um, and I think that healthy homes, fit for living, fit for life, they're well planned, they optimize storage and utility space, they have high ceilings, they're well ventilated, they're flexible over time, they adapt to the human lifespan. These are really important things. And some of the clues about this are really in the barracks, actually, in the barracks construction, which aren't there anymore. But of course, they had thousands of men living on the site and some women. Um, and the whole purpose of a barracks is to keep an army fit and ready to fight. So the the barracks gives us a really strong understanding of how to make something healthy by using natural materials, by optimizing ventilation, by having really good orientation vis-a-vis the sun. And that private open space is optimized, that people have large, generous terraces that they can actually use as rooms outdoors, and that they can also use outdoor spaces which are part of the roofs and the ground of the project as gardens. That it be affordable over time means that it's tied into some of the other projects in Ireland that have a history of being built for the public, like um, the Ivy Gardens. And what's interesting in a photograph like this is you see that windows are big and operable, you see that materials are robust, and you see that a lot of the things that I'm just talking about now are already part of how they were thinking of how they made things then. And that these be low maintenance, that they have low servicing costs, that they support the local economy was already part of how the Ivy Trust thought about making buildings for housing people. So resiliency over time is also about climate responsive passive design, and there's a technical aspect to this, of course, an engineering aspect to this, but there's also kind of an adaptability around the use and the appearance of public spaces where ecology becomes a much stronger part of what we see, and there's much less paving and a lot more green. But it's also about how buildings change their use or are used for multiple things, like the Garrison Chapel and Schoolhouse, which is now St. Michael's Church, but it's interesting to think that it was built as a schoolhouse and a chapel. And this is a powerful lesson for our time